Hey guys, I'm back once again to do a review for another one of my favorite childhood films. And this one has always been one movie that, I've always enjoyed watching when I was really young. But it's also one film that I really relate a lot to. I really relate a lot to the main character of the story. This is actually the first true sort of live action big screen adaptation of probably one of the most classic cartoon characters of all time. But the movie I'm talking about was released in 1995, and that is Casper. And this one stars Bill Pullman and Christina Ricci. Show off the case right here. And this movie was actually Steven Spielberg was actually the executive producer of the film, which it actually has a big sort of Spielberg feel to it. When I was really young, this was actually the first movie I ever saw that had, the first Casper movie that I saw. I actually saw this movie before I saw any of the, classic Casper cartoons. So this movie actually sort of introduced me to the character, and then as I got a bit older, I started watching the other, the other cartoons. Yeah, Casper has always been a character that I've always related to a lot. Mostly because, of course, he's a ghost, but he's a friendly ghost, and he's always searching for a friend. He's always very lonely. Living up in whatever house he's living in with his uncles, and his uncles have always treated him badly. And I can relate a lot to him because when I was younger, I didn't have a lot of friends. I had people that I talked to and stuff, but I didn't have a lot of people that I felt I could relate to and understood me. And I related a lot because Casper is like that. He's always searching for somebody that he can relate to, searching for someone that understands him, and that's one of the main reasons why I connect to Casper. And he's one of my favorite classic cartoon characters. But yeah, like I said, this movie was released in 1995, and it stars Bill Pullman and Christina Ricci. This was the first movie I saw both of those actors in, so I didn't know who they were when I first saw this until, after. And then after I saw, this movie, I went back and I watched their other films, and they're both really good actors. But this movie actually follows, it starts off with this woman named Kerrigan, and who's played by Cathy Morita. Moriarty, I think is how you pronounce it. But yeah, basically she just inherited an old mansion by her father, who had actually just passed away, and she's really upset by it because he gave so much money to different charities that he likes, and then he just leaves her this mansion. You get the impression he was a very wealthy man, and Kerrigan, she's a very money hungry and just a greedy woman, and she's completely upset and angry that her father, just left her this old mansion. She also has a sort of, I guess that's her attorney character. This is a picture of Kerrigan, and her attorney character name, Dibbs is his name, but he's played by Eric Idle, I think he's how you do it, how you pronounce it, Idle. But he's been in a lot of other movies, and of course this was the first one I saw him in, but, when I saw him in this one, I then saw him in other films. But, like I said, she's really upset that her father didn't really give her any, and of course my cat walks in, anyway, but, she's really upset that her father didn't really give her any money, until she starts reading the will that's in there, and it apparently says that there's a treasure in the mansion somewhere, and that immediately has her interested, and so she basically goes to the mansion with Dibbs to hopefully try and find the treasure. But of course, little do they know is that it's actually the home of Casper and his three uncles, Stretch, Fatso, and Stinky. And when they first walk in, of course, Casper, he introduces himself, and they are absolutely terrified by him, and then they end up running out. So next part of the movie, they're basically trying to search for somebody to get the ghost out, which is kind of funny. There's one scene where they end up getting a priest to come in and sort of do an exorcism on a home, and I think the priest is actually played by Steven Spielberg. He has a small little part. Another really funny scene is they have Dan Aykroyd in it, and he's actually dressed up in his Ghostbusters outfit. And there's a scene where you see him run out, and he goes, "Who you gonna call? Somebody else." And then he runs off, which I thought was pretty funny, because you know, when I saw this, I didn't see Ghostbusters until much later, so I didn't get the reference. And then now that I have seen Ghostbusters, I think, oh, that's pretty funny. But of course, you know, while this is all happening, you know, while Casper's uncles are just scaring, you know, Kerrigan and Dibbs, Casper's, of course, being, you know, upset that he really has nobody to talk to, and he's basically sitting up in his old mansion alone. Until one night he's watching TV, and he sees on a news report that they're doing an interview with this guy named Dr. Harvey, who's played by Bill Pullman, and Dr. Harvey is basically a ghost therapist. And basically what he's trying to do is that he's sort of trying to find ghosts and figure out why they haven't crossed over. And by crossed over, he means go into whatever, you know, life you go to after death, you know, be it heaven, hell, what have you. And he believes that all ghosts have sort of unfinished business, which is why they're still here on Earth and they haven't crossed over. And he's going around trying to, you know, he's basically a paranormal investigator, but he's more of a therapist over an investigator. And he's basically just trying to, you know, help ghosts cross over. He also has a daughter who's played by Christina Ricci, and her character's name is Cat. And while Casper is watching, you know, the news report, he immediately falls in love with Cat, and he just wants to find a way to meet her in any way he can. You also find on the in the news report that Dr. Harvey's wife had previously died, and he's also been trying to contact her. You know, whenever he's going around contacting ghosts, he's always trying to contact her as well. While Casper is watching news report, he ends up just figuring out that he figures out that if he wants to meet Cat, the only way for him to do that would be to get Dr. Harvey to come to the mansion. So what he does is that he goes to Kerrigan's hotel room, gets into the TV and changes it to the news report, and that's when Kerrigan sees Dr. Harvey, and then she ends up calling him. And yeah, from that point on, that's when the movie really gets going. Of course, you're introduced to you know, Cat, and she's very, you know, she doesn't like the fact that her father's always traveling and uprooting her from school and from different homes or whatever. But you do know that you do see that they have a good relationship. You know, you do see they're buddy, you know, and they, you know, that's the only thing she really doesn't like is being rooted up. But of course, they both move in. So dusty house, you know, she, just to humor her father, she says that she's fine living there or whatever. But of course Casper tries to you know, talk to her, which ends up scaring them both out of the house. Of course, though, they decide to come back because of course Dr. Harvey's there to try and help the ghost there, and that's when Casper you know, introduces himself to Cat, and they end up having a friendship. And the friendship ends up growing, and they end up becoming very, very close. You know, of course, Cat begins telling him about her mother and how she died, and, you know, what she used to be like. You also find out that Casper doesn't remember anything about his previous life. Like, he doesn't remember what it's like to be alive. And he doesn't remember his, I think my cat wants out. Go. Alright, whatever, dude. And he doesn't remember his parents or anything, you know. And so Cat wants to find a way to, you know, remind him of what it's like to be alive. So while she's searching the house, she finds all these old toys that Casper used to play with and puts them up, like a toy, like he has a toy like Ferris wheel and a toy train and stuff. And when he sees all that, he then begins to remember. And that's when he begins to remember his father. That his father actually created a machine that he wanted to bring ghosts back to life, because he wanted to bring Casper back to life. You know, Casper also remembers how he died, and that his father was building this machine to bring him back to life. And basically from that point on, they're trying to find the machine and trying to get you know, Casper's trying to bring himself back. I don't want to get into anything else on this review, but I want to go ahead and give my own thoughts on the movie now. I really enjoyed this movie, mostly, well, first off, I said because I relate to Casper, but also because I've always been fascinated with ghosts and fascinated with what happens to you after you die, and this movie touches on that a lot. It's a really, really funny movie. There's a lot of really good, funny parts, but it's also very heartwarming, and and it's mostly about, you know, the power of friendship and the power that, you know, no matter what, you'll always be able to find somebody that cares about you and understands you, and you know, the movie gets a bit sentimental. It's not sad or anything, but it does get a bit sentimental and a bit emotional towards the end. But, yeah, all in all, it's a really great movie. It's really hard for me to describe a movie that I've watched for years and years and years. And because movies like this are always, you know, they're always in my head, you know. Whenever I think about a good movie, I'll think about movies I grew up watching because I've watched them so many times. So it's really hard for me to try and describe exactly, you know, how I really enjoy this movie without, you know, I just can't really do it in words. But all I can say is if you're a fan of the classic Casper cartoons, and if you haven't seen this movie, I would definitely recommend it. It's a great family film. It's perfect to sit down, you know, the acting's good, the characters are funny, especially Dib's character. He's really funny in this one. He's always getting hurt or whatever, and Kerrigan's always treating him badly. I also really like the theme to this, especially the really slow theme that goes on in it, the really slow piano theme. I really like that as well. And it does have the Casper theme song also plays at the very end of the movie, and it's a more revised version. Of course, it was done by Steven Spielberg. Well, it wasn't directed by him. He was the executive producer, so it does have that bit of a feel to it. But you know, so it's a really, if you're a fan of Steven Spielberg, this is one movie I think you'll also enjoy, but it doesn't overshadow it. Like, you don't watch it and say, oh, Steven Spielberg directed this. No, because he didn't. He just produced it. But, you know, yeah, like I said, if you're a fan of the old classic Casper movies, I definitely recommend watching this movie. It's a great film, good for the entire family. It's one movie that I always enjoy watching. I even watch it still today. I actually watched it today, and I still really enjoy it, you know. So, yeah, that was my quick review of Casper. I hope you guys enjoy this. My next review I'm going to be doing will probably be another horror movie, and then I'll probably go back and do another review on another family film that I enjoy, and sort of mix it up. I'm going to try and mix it up as much as I can, you know, while the summer goes on. But anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Check out the movie Casper if you want, because it's a really great one, and I hope everyone has a good weekend. Bye.